Hey guys, how you doing? It's Angelo back on Campionato TV here after a summer of the Club World Cup and transfers and stuff like that. As you guys know, this Saturday the Serie A is starting. There's some games Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, and you guys may have saw some comments I made on Instagram about it feels like every year the Serie A is always starting like a week later or later than the Premier League or these other leagues, and maybe it's because they played Coppa Italia games last weekend. I don't know, but I gotta believe that there's something that could be done so these leagues could start at the same time, especially with the leagues that we compete with the most. Spanish league, German, the French, and the English league. Because what you see over here is we start playing Champions League games in September, and these teams, these teams from these leagues, they're in better form, and they get they have a better probability of winning Champions League games, which could affect where an Italian team finishes in the Champions League table. So I don't know. That's just my 2 cents. I feel like it's been like this forever, that we're always starting later than everybody else. But nevertheless, I wanted to tell you guys my three teams I think that'll be relegated this year, and the top seven. Because we, for the seven European spots. Anyways, so without further ado, before I get started, I just wanted to let you guys know that I got my studio better decorated. I have some jerseys over here: the Juventus, the Fiorentina, Inter's new jersey, and I have a Napoli jersey there. I have an Italy, signed jersey from the Euro 2024 team. I got some stuff from Bernardeschi and Insigne. They signed the flag. I got a little poster over there, AC Milan jersey. This is Napoli Liverpool. My father got it from me when the Napoli played Liverpool in the Champions League in 2018, 2019. We have a ball up there signed by the Euro 2024 Italy squad. And moving on over here, Italia 90 jersey, USA 94 jersey. This is a recent product made. It's a retro. It's a new retro jersey with the USA 94 Italy jersey. And then we have an Italy jersey right here. I have also some Juventus stuff over here. Some of my favorite jerseys for Juventus, the Fast Web and the Danone. I have an Inter jersey that I gotta find a place for, and I got some other stuff. I gotta find a place for it too. But for now, that's what I got. The Inter jersey, it's last year's black and blue jersey, and when we went to the West Coast to see Inter at the Rose Bowl in Seattle, they the team, they signed the jersey and stuff like that. So. Anyways, I just wanted to show you guys, my little, area here for my podcast, and got some cups as well from the Club World Cup. But anyways, nothing big. So down to the business. For me, I'll start with the relegated teams. Cremonese, Pisa, and Verona. To me, those teams are going to be relegated. So like I said, I'm doing my top seven here. So, I believe that the Fiorentina will end up in a Conference League spot. They really haven't done too much this past summer. I know, I don't find this as a great signing because this guy is probably older than me. But I know they got Zeko there, and I think they made a Fagioli a permanent move there. But they still have Keane, And so it seems like Fiorentina every year they're just good enough to get into a Conference League spot. So that's what I'm going to go with them. And similar to them, I feel, and let's talk more about Fiorentina before I go on. I know they have Pioli and stuff like that, and I think that's a good thing for them. I think I would take Pioli over Italiano and Palladino. He's more of experienced coach. He made it to the Champions League semifinal. So, but I just feel like that they really haven't done much that much to the squad, so they'll go seventh. And my two Europa League spots, similar to Fiorentina, I feel like Roma, they always are going into a Europa League spot. I feel bad for them, really, honestly, to tell you the truth. I mean, like every year, these guys are trying to get into the Champions League, and I know they got Gasparini and stuff like that, but I don't think they're gonna. I think it takes some time for Gasparini to implement his ways, and he's gonna have to weed out players. Like anything new, when you have a new management, like the manager needs to get in management and anything. The manager needs to get acclimated to the team, and he's gonna have to weed out players that don't agree with him, and so I feel like that's what's going to happen with Roma this year. They're going to be, a top third team, but not enough to get into top four. So, but for the two Europa League spots, I have Roma. I have them finishing fifth, and this is going to be a surprise to some people, but I have Como finishing sixth. I was looking at the transfers they made, and they got some players from Manchester City, Barcelona, and I think Palmeiras too, and coupled with the Fabregas staying there. He obviously Fabregas could have went to another team. I mean, I think Inter wanted him, but he stayed there, so he must know something that's going on over there in Como. Is good. He's got a good young team. He's got Nico Paz and these guys, and they got some new players. And I think they're gonna have a good season. Towards the end of last season, I felt like every week they were getting a win. So I got Cuomo finishing sixth, and I got Roma finishing fifth. Just out of the top seven, I got Bologna. And Atalanta. Bologna is another one. I really don't see that they did much. They lost Ndoye, and I know they got Bernardeschi and Immobile, but these guys, I'm not trying to, these guys, they're older players. They could play, and have a good moment, once in a while, but to me, they're not, like starting players anymore. Bernardeschi was in the MLS. Immobile, he's got to be close to my age, So I don't look at that as some significant reinforcements there for Bologna. I know Italiano, he's been doing good, but they lost Ndoye to the Premier League, and they really didn't, in my opinion, bring anybody in. So that's why I got Bologna, and I also got Atalanta finishing outside of the top seven. Atalanta, their squad, it's about for almost 500 million for that team they got, which is more than Roma, Bologna, Como, and Fiorentina. Fiorentina is almost about 300 million. Como's about 250 million. Roma's like 376 million. So Atalanta, they have the players. It's just I don't have faith in their new coach there after Gasparini left. When he was at Roma, when he took over for De Rossi last year, he didn't do anything. And then I guess he went to the Premier League, which I didn't know, and he did even worse. So I don't know how he's going to all of a sudden, he's going to take over this Atalanta team. I heard he's like a disciple of Gasparini, but I don't know. I just don't see that he's going to have a great season there. In Atalanta, they lost, Retegui. He was a leading scorer. I don't know how big of a loss that is because it seemed like, whoever Gasparini would put up there, whether it was Scamacca, Retegui, they are scoring goals. But I think Bologna and Atalanta, they're going to finish outside of the top 7. I also know that Atalanta, they got, who they got? Zalewski from Inter. He's a bench player for Inter. And they got the guy, Kristovic from Lecce. He's a forward. But I just think because of their selection and the coach, they're going to finish outside of the top 7. Roma, Como, Fiorentina will take, 5, 6, 7. So, moving down now. Also, Lazio, I feel, will also be outside of the top 7 as well. I looked at, what they did, and I know they got Maurizio Sarri there, but they really haven't done anything, transfer-wise. The value of their players is about 276 million. I think they have a good team. That Lazio, to me, it's a team that, they could go and beat, like an AC Milan or an Inter. And then they could lose to like a Pisa or Cremonese, you know what I mean? Or Verona, Hellas Verona. So I got them finishing out of the, top 7. And I heard Sadi saying that, he would love Insigne to come back. But again, what kind of players are they getting? Insigne, I mean, all due respect to him, he was phenomenal back in, when he was in his prime in the Euro 2021 days like Bernardeschi. But he's been away for 3-4 years at Toronto FC, like Bernardeschi, and he may be a player that could do some contribution, but I don't think he's a impact player that's gonna do something for the team, week in, week out. So Lazio as well for me will fall out of the top 7 along with Atalanta and Bologna. So down to the business now. I'm going to go with, for number 4 to finish in the Champions League, I'm going to go with the Juventus. They got about the, $589 million, values for the player there. I know they picked up Jonathan Davids there. I don't know how good he's going to be. I guess he was doing good in the French league as a Canadian international. I know Bremer's back. I know that, Juventus still has the issue with Vlahovic. I think he's going to be a distraction. I really don't know what Juventus is trying to do, honestly. I mean, they went from being one of the most feared teams, in the world from the 90s all the way up to like the 2020. And then after they got Ronaldo, the team went downhill. I mean, I really don't know what that team is trying to do. And then on top of that, they have Igor Tudor as their coach, which I really don't like him as their coach. After what I saw this summer, in the FIFA Club World Cup, aura and what you say, it means so much. They played Manchester City in the FIFA Club World Cup, and they lost like 5-2 or something like that. And what he said after was, oh yeah, Manchester City, they have $1 billion team and we have a $600 million team. That's basically what he said. And to me, that's nonsense. That he has that kind of view. He's basically saying, make an excuse for why they lost. They got a $1 billion team and we got a $600 million team. It's a big difference. I mean, that's the difference between, that's like you could say that's like 4 Lautaros. You know what I mean? Lautaro is about $100 million player. So, Manchester City, they have 4 more Lautaros, or $100 million, players. The values of their players higher. That to me, that's baloney, man. I feel that, if you have a team that is worth like $50 million and you're playing a $1 billion team, there's probably some validity to that. But you're Juventus, Manchester City, nobody even paid attention to that team until like 10 years ago. You're Juventus and you're making excuses? How many times has Juventus, with a significantly lower wage bill, go and play Real Madrid and they win that game? And these teams that spend all this money. So I don't like his attitude with making excuses like that. Maybe I'm looking too far into it, but I still not crazy about the coach. I think they'll be competitive, good enough to beat some people. They're good enough to beat anybody, but then they could lose to anybody. They still have players like Locatelli. I mean, Locatelli's back from 2021. They need a better, midfield, than that. No offense to Locatelli. He's been there for so long. I feel like he's been there for a while. And, I know they also have McKennie over there. I know they have McKennie and, and they got the Thuram. They have, Yildiz, obviously he's a good prospect. Cambiaso is a very good prospect. And we'll see what Jonathan David does. They got rid of Weah, which I don't see that as an issue because he really didn't play that much. Or when they played him, it was in some role that usually doesn't play for the U.S. men's national team. I'm not crazy about their defense. I know they got Bremer back, but Kalulu and the Kelly. I'm not super high on those guys. I think Di Gregorio is a good goalie. So, anyways, I think Juventus, they should be making a Champions League spot. I still don't know what the hell they're trying to do. I don't think they scare anybody. Last year they're able to beat Manchester City in the Champions League with Thiago Motta, who I don't think he was having problems over there. Then they go to in the summer and they lose 5-2 to Manchester City, and they're like, oh yeah, we don't have that good of players compared to them. What does that do to your team when you go on the TV and you say, oh, they're $1 billion team, or they have basically saying that, I don't know exactly verbatim what he said, but basically he was saying that they have better players. So what do you think that message to your team is, that your players, that he don't think that you guys are as good as them? That's not good morale. You know what I mean? And by the way, McKennie, you're still wrong on that food thing about Italy. So hopefully you see this video. I don't know what you're eating over there in Torino, but when I come to Italy, I'll maybe we could get together and I can show you around. So I got Juventus at number 4. At number 3, I have Napoli at number 3. Napoli I have at number 3. I know you guys are going crazy. Everybody's saying Napoli's going to win. When's the last time Napoli won back-to-back Scudettos? I know that, they still have Conti and they got these players, De Bruyne, Lang, Lorenzo Luca, Bukama as a center back, Metanucci is another center back, and I know they got a really good team, but I don't think that they're gonna get first place. They're gonna have Champions League to contend with. I know Lukaku, he's injured and stuff like that. I know they're looking for a striker. And I think, they're going to be a really good team and they'll do, but Napoli, I mean, they won 3 Scudettos, right? 3 or 4 Scudettos. I'd have to look it up. But Lukaku, stop showing me that. You're but our producer over here is showing me pictures of McKennie and Weah and Lukaku over here. But I think Napoli has a really good team, and they could kick, they could beat anybody and anywhere in the world. But again, I don't have, they have to contend with the Coppa Italia, the Champions League, and the Serie A. I think Conti hasn't done much in Europe ever. I know he went to the Europa League final with Inter, and they lost. He hasn't. If you look at his record in the Champions League, he really hasn't done anything in the Champions League, and I think he's gonna want to try to like right that wrong. And there's something to be said about Conte. When he was the coach of Juventus and he left, and then he was the coach of Inter and he's left. Inter ended up going to 2 Champions League. I think Juventus too ended up. Juventus went to go with Allegri to 2 Champions League. So there's something to be said that he sets up a team good. You know what I mean? But he doesn't stay. So now, he's staying for now with Napoli, and to me, he hasn't done anything in the Champions League. I think he's going to try to prove that he could do something in the Champions League. I think that Napoli, they have a really good team. They got Savic over there as the goalie too. I don't know if he's going to beat out Meret. I thought the guy was phenomenal last year for Torino. But I just have them finishing third. Napoli's never won. I don't think they ever won back-to-back Scudettos. They're going to be, busy, in a Coppa Italia and a Champions League. And, I think they're going to finish third. Just enough for a Champions League spot. And, maybe I'm wrong. And so Napoli, I guess they got a squad value of about 500 million, 457 million, and they're going to be getting another striker. So I would say their squad values are going to be about 500 million. For second place, I'm going with the Inter. I think that the Inter, they got a new coach. Nobody really knows what Christian Kivu is going to do. I don't even know what formation they're going to play, if they're going to stay with 3-5-2 or what, 3-4-2-1. I don't know. An issue with me with them is that they really haven't done anything with this defense over here. They still have De Vrij and Acerbi. And then I think about AC Milan last year. I mean, they beat those guys like 3-4 times last year. I know they got Luis Henrique, and now we're going to get to see Esposito over there. And they got Bani from Parma. They got Susic, the Croatian. I saw him play. He's, a very good player. And they still have the usual cast of characters, Thuram, Dumfries, Lautaro, DeMarco, Bastoni. They're very good players. But I mean, I was hoping that they would have got younger this year. I mean, I don't understand why they let this guy, Leone, go to Liverpool. They should have did anything. They should have got Leone and Lookman and been done with it. And I would have put them as being the clear favorites to win the Scudetto. But, with their defense over there, I know they still got Bisek and they got Pavard, but they got De Vrij and Acerbi. I think they're too old, man. Like this day and age, we need to have young players, man, younger players that, that are faster and, et cetera, et cetera. So I got the Inter, with second place. I think, they got about a squad value, about 706 million. I think they will. I know they were talking about getting Lookman. I mean, I don't even know that they need Lookman. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, what do they need him for? I would have used that money to get Leone. I mean, you have Thuram, you have Lautaro up front, you have Esposito, you got Bani. I mean, I don't understand why you need Lookman for five forwards like that. I don't know. Maybe I don't know. Maybe somebody out there could tell me. I would have used that 45 million and got Leone, Giovanni Leone. Now you let him go to the Premier League and Liverpool, and you watch, he's gonna be a phenomenal player over there. When you could have had that guy and Bastoni playing on the defense with you, and that's like a solid defensive unit, Italian defensive unit that are going to be playing on the Italian national team for years to come, 5, 6, 7, 8 years to come. I don't think they need a striker, but And then we got the the issue. It's not an issue with Kivu. He's a newer coach. We'll see what he's going to do. So I'm not ready to give him first place. But we'll see. I wouldn't be surprised if they won, though. It's just a little disappointing that they went all the way to the Champions League final. They made all that money. Then they went to go, the FIFA Club World Cup. I think they made like 40, 30, 40, 50 million dollars. And I mean, like, I don't see that they bought anybody. Bonnie, they got Luis Henrique, Sucic. If they're, I would have liked to see that they got rid of Summers and they got Donnarumma, they got Leone, and they got Lookman. Then that would have been a freaking team. That would have been a phenomenal team. No? What do you think? If Inter got Donnarumma and goalie and sold Summer, they got Giovanni Leone as a center defenseman with the on the back line there, and they got like a Lookman. I don't even think they needed a Lookman, but even if you wanted to get that, I mean, you're gonna have what six forwards over here. I want to see Esposito play. I don't really care about the there's Lookman and stuff like that. I want to see Esposito play. So second place for me is Inter. And then last but not least, AC Milan, I saying are going to win the Scudetto this year. They got my boy there. He's not my boy, but Allegri. Show him the picture. See that guy? Allegri. And, Allegri only has one thing really to worry about. I don't think AC Milan cares if he goes far in the Coppa Italia. I know they'll try, you know what I mean? But his main objective is going to be to win the Scudetto. And AC Milan, they got about a $500 million squad. They got the Winter, the center back. They helped out the defense. They got the other guy, Estebinian. They got Jashari, Ricci, and Modric. And then this morning I heard from Fabrizio Romano that they got Victor Boniface. I mean, Inter had a hard time with AC Milan last year when they had who did they have? Morata as their forward, or I don't even remember who else they had. Jimenez as their forward, or Vidic, right? The Serbian Vidic. So listen, I think this AC Milan team, I think they got a lot better. They got better on defense. I think Gabbia and Pavlovic are also going to be on defense. They got Ricci. They got Jashari in the midfield, and Modric. And then, of course, they got Pulisic and Leao, and now they're going to have this guy, Victor Boniface, who's from that Bayern Leverkusen, and he's a big guy, man. Like he's a big, fast, Nigerian striker, and those guys are strong, and he's going to give all types of problems. I honestly, I'm surprised that he's not in the Premier League, because they look for that kind of profile of a player, athletic, big, and strong. But I feel like AC Milan, some of their lineup there, that they got a lot of these bigger. They're a big team, and they could give problems to, defensive lines in the Serie A. I think this AC Milan team, they could give problems to anybody. I mean, find me a team in the world, that Real Madrid, Bayern Munich, Liverpool, Manchester City, whatever, Arsenal. Find me a team in the world that would be happy to see a trident of Leao, Victor Boniface, and Christian Pulisic. That's freaking hard to deal with. I mean, Pulisic, he's not a big guy, but he's fast and he works hard. And Leao, he's fast too. Sometimes he's not, have the best, work ethic, or he gets, mad, or, doesn't want to do something. We all know. But now to add this other guy, Victor Boniface, he's like a Lukaku type player, and coupled with Allegri and the fact that they're only playing really in one competition, they're going to win the Scudetto. I'm telling you right now, AC Milan is going to win the Scudetto. You know, they got I know Reinders left and Teo Hernandez left. I really don't care. I know Reinders doing better and doing good at City, but you know, my guy Ricci, he's a phenomenal defensive midfielder. Um, you know, like I said, they got those other midfielders too, and Modric. When people get tired, he could play. Even though I'm not happy with getting a 39-year-old midfielder, but when you know, maybe he could play some Coppa Italia games, or if Ricci or Jashadi need a rest or something like that, he could go in. But I think AC Milan is going to win the title this year. Yeah, that's it. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know if you guys agree. I got AC Milan, Inter Milan, Napoli, and Juventus is my top four. I would prefer to see like a Roma get in the top four because I'm sick and tired of Juventus and nobody understands what the hell they're doing. But yeah, that's about it. So, having said that, let me know in the comments what you guys think will be the top 7 and who's getting relegated. Make sure you subscribe and you like, and we'll enjoy the start of the season. We'll be back when the European tables have been set. See you guys. Have a good day.